If you work in the theaters of Manhattan, you probably heard of Nate Patten. And whether black, white, Asian, or Latin, you wanna punch him right in the mouth, but please don't do it, no. He's just our Nate, a man of many thoughts he can't abbreviate. But if you like a gay, misanthropic, self-hating Jew, then Patten Disregard is just the show for you. Yeah.
You know what's funny about Broadway? Nothing. Have you seen the shows coming to New York this fall? There's more drama than in the ensemble dressing room at Kinky Boots. And I'm not even talking about fun drama like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or The Crucible. I mean, we're about to see an onslaught of productions that are so serious, so woke, so fucking tedious, they'd have Harold Pinter begging someone to throw a pie. When it comes to laughs, this season in New York makes Nomadland look like Ace Ventura. Coincidentally, both of those are being turned into musicals. Collectively, the shows opening in New York in the coming year deal with, and I'm not kidding, gun control, sexual assault, climate change, taxing the church, police brutality, gender identity, abortion, immigration, and the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline. And that's just the first two scenes of Jagged Little Pill. Do we think we aren't allowed to have fun anymore? This is precisely the reason we have to laugh. Nothing chases the COVID blues like New World Stage's production of Puppetry of the Penis. And speaking of genitals, you know who doesn't have balls? The producers, who are afraid of being canceled and blacklisted. It's why instead of getting anything even remotely funny, we're getting a musical about crossing the North Korean demilitarized zone. Highlighting problems with humor is a good thing in art. There is a well-intentioned call for artists to feel safe in the creative process, but we've set up the most unsafe artistic environment there is, one without freedom of expression, and with no laughter allowed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to watch something that I think is funny. Here comes Honey Boo Boo. In this segment, I'll read a quote, which will be from one of two places, the Actors' Equity Handbook or an edict from the Church of Scientology. And you, as a guest at home, get to decide. Here's the quote. The membership shall consist of members, alien members, honorary members, and such classes of membership as approved by the council. Can you guess which one it is? That was from Actors' Equity. Don't feel bad if you guessed the Church of Scientology. That was a really hard one. Join us next time for more Actors' Equity Handbook or Scientology. We are back with my favorite segment with, what's her name? Lisa Gajda. That's it. Thank you so much. We were talking the last time you were on here about making use of the suffering. Is that the way that you said it?
Yeah, I stole that. Yes.
Yeah. Along with everything else I've stolen on this show.
Yeah.
Making use of the suffering and, finding a way to take COVID, I guess, into using it and channeling it into something positive. I'm hearing from a lot of people in the business, actors, musicians, literally everybody. I've heard it 100 times already. I'm not good anymore.
Yeah.
I keep hearing people say this to me.
Yeah.
Why is everyone saying this? Any idea? I mean, not that you have an answer. No one has an answer. We don't know.
I have a long, horrible answer. Would you like to hear something really boring and horrible? So here's my long, horrible answer.
You got that, Wisconsin?
So, I mean, there are a couple of ways to think about it. My husband and I had a child. The couple was gone. And it felt like a loss. And it felt like we weren't good anymore. Because we had this instinct to get back to the couple. And when we let that end, so like the musician you were, the dancer you were, the actor you were is, I keep saying this, is gone. And so can you tolerate being in this space open, with an open heart, tolerate not having the solid ground of feeling like you used to feel and being curious about what's coming, what can come in this space? Because in the example of my family, and cut to us being divorced in 2 weeks. But what happened in my family was that what we became was in that space of loss and uncertainty and not solid ground came something significantly better. So I'm not good can also mean I don't feel like I used to.
Yeah.
And I think that it may be that if you can tolerate that is really where we are and that there's no going back and stay there and try and with an open heart play and be curious and explore what is waiting for you. What kind of a musician will you be?
I think for some reason COVID made a lot of people feel insecure in their abilities, even when they have no data to support that they should be.
Well, I mean, the vulnerability is going to be that there was a vulnerability that was created in all of us with all of the things that happened, and unprocessed anything is going to come out all over the place. You know what I mean? And so it may be that some of the vulnerability of what they discovered was not solid, that they thought was solid, things that they could count on that they can't count on, all the things that the pandemic showed us and everything that happened in the pandemic, that vulnerability can be expressed in, I don't feel like I'm good. The vulnerable part of them can be coming out when they play and feeling like I feel insecure. There's a part of me that feels insecure. That could just be the vulnerability of the experience coming out sideways. But I always think that vulnerability is good news. It causes the most trouble when we resist it. And it's understandable that, I will squash a piece of vulnerability so fast myself. I get it. It just doesn't work.
Well, you also, as a performer, you sort of have to.
You do.
Because you can't really be vulnerable when you walk out on stage at Radio City. You could be vulnerable in your performance.
But you need to do it.
But you got to do it.
Yeah.
You can't let it overtake you.
So the plan is then you play like you have to play and you leave your body in the open state that it needs to be. And I know does that sound weird to you?
Well, it's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but it also makes sense.
What do you make of that?
What do I make?
Yeah.
Who do I look like? I think I don't even know what to make of it.
Yeah.
I think it's so, when you said it, it resonated with me, but I also was like,
how do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
If you're having an anxious day, it's just that moment where you're going, oh.
What do you mean if I'm having an anxious day?
So when you're anxious, you, instead of trying not to, we will all instinctively just fight that. And instead you say, oh, this is how this is for me. And I'm going to play beautifully through it. Instead of just trying to deny or change how this is for you. Because it's a waste of energy, it's distracting, and it will affect your ability. I sincerely believe you'll play better if you go, I am not as good as I used to be, and I'm going to play right now. Yeah.
What did your years as a dancer and a performer and a singer do for you psychologically? Did it make you stronger, or did it make you feel like you needed to become a therapist to, even process what it did? All the years of auditioning, having to get on stage. I just, the amount of strength that it must have taken psychologically to do that, I really can't even imagine.
There are strengths that come. I have such a warmth for it, and it gets warmer and warmer over time as I get further and further away. The strengths is that you learn how to, push through, which is honestly still a useful tool. We do need to, you do have to play, but can you do it in a way that doesn't squash the truth for you? You can't squash things and get away with it. It just doesn't work. That's why there's therapists. When I was, did it make me strong? It really just played on I think those of us that come to theater already have in place a system of squashing our feelings and pushing through. We value that already. And then the business affirms it. And it's there's so much about the business that's great. And there's so much about it that leaves you with these amazing superpowers as you step into the world. But I don't, I think I have to really still undo a lot of what the business did to me. I'm actually kind of undoing those parts.
There's something also about having to just get in front of an audience and perform. When you're standing in the wings, you're waiting to, play on the trombone in the orchestra pit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're just it requires a fearlessness that I think
That no one has.
That no one has. But I just wonder, I think you have to carry that with you, I think, as you go through life too, just like that feeling of standing in the wings, being like, I'm ready to go out there and like, I'm just going out. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. Like I think, and
Yes.
I think weirdly, actually, the older I get, the more like the more not fearful, but like the less carefree I feel about doing anything in a performance, because there just feels like there's more at stake. The more experience you get,
Yeah.
I don't always think it gets easier, at least not for me. I feel like I carry more pressure of having to deliver something too.
I get that.
Yeah.
Because it's like you kind of are a little dumber when you're younger. And, I don't know about you, but most of us have a yes part and a no part. So like for me, as I got older, the no part, there was always like literally, this is not to say that I'm not on my knees grateful for having been a performer, but there was every time I was in the wing, there was a part of me that was like, no.
When you were younger?
The whole 30 years.
Oh.
And I think we all have that to some degree, like a part of you that's ambivalent about parading your vulnerability and your personal experience.
So what I'm hearing, and is that the correct way to say it in therapy?
Yeah.
Here's what I'm hearing from you.
That is exactly right. Yes.
Is that
Yes.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
that a lot of this is people's vulnerabilities coming into play, I think, when it comes to just not feeling like you're good.
Yeah.
That it's sort of long ingrained vulnerabilities.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we do as artists, we do it in many ways, is we kind of model, and we model it in many ways. We model it for our kids. We can model it for there's so much that people perceive, and in a way we'll be modeling that for the rest of, like what we do. We'll model it for the rest of the world is we'll say, here we are and we feel raw and we're going to put ourselves in front of you. And we're in that rawness. We're going to keep going.
Speaking of keeping going.
Yes.
I think were we just about to kiss?
I was going to kiss you.
All right. Call HR. Lisa's getting weird.
I'm living in the 80s. Thought I could kiss you.
Welcome to Outrage Roulette. In this segment, we spin 2 roulette wheels, one of Tony Award nominees from the 90s and another of social justice issues. When both wheels stop, we will call out said 90s star for their silence on whatever social issue the wheel spins to. Okay, let's spin the wheel. Barbara Walsh, explain your silence on the negative portrayal of snakes in movies. Barbara, your silence on this issue is deafening, and we want to hear from you here at Patten Disregard. If you know Barbara Walsh, please tag her and let her know that her silence about this pressing topic is unacceptable. Barbara, we expect to hear from you. He's currently starring on Broadway in Tina the Musical as Ike Turner. Please welcome Tony Award nominee Daniel J. Watts. So, first question.
Yes.
Does it feel crazy, or how does it feel to hear Tony Award nominee in front of your name?
Yeah. Yes. It feels crazy. Great crazy, but crazy. It's one of those things where you hope to hear, you want to hear, and then it happens. You're like, wait, and you're gonna say that because that's part of my name now.
A lot of people explode onto the scene overnight. They become overnight sensations on Broadway. They do something that makes them stick out and then all of a sudden become a star. You're a sensation, but you're not an overnight sensation. I feel like you've hit every rung on the ladder from where you started to where you are now.
Sure.
Is that accurate?
I've never wanted to have a flash in the pan. I didn't want to get famous quickly. Mm-hmm. I knew that from early on. Like I noticed once I wasn't a child star, I was finally okay with not being a child star. Because you see some child stars who are just, it goes terribly wrong for them at some point. And it's just, when you're not really coached into or coaxed into or eased into this business, it can flip on you.
You might not be prepared for what it entails.
Right.
Too.
So I feel like I've had preparation in the slow burn.
You are currently playing Ike Turner on Broadway. So the name Ike Turner, in my opinion at least, in pop culture for years, has been synonymous with, one, Tina Turner's husband, and two, the guy who beat up Tina Turner.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like to play him in a musical that shows him in a much more three-dimensional way?
Yeah, Philida Lloyd, the director, sat me down in the audition. And, I did my audition. Then she sat me down and asked me, what do you think? How do you feel about playing this kind of character on stage? Which I realized I had an opportunity. And I had two opportunities. One, I could BS, say what I think someone might want to hear. Or I could actually say what I thought, which was, when it comes to specifically Broadway, Broadway is a predominantly white space for the most part. This is what it is, at least the audience. And as an audience member, I care what that representation looks like. So when you have pretty much the only black male character on stage, that is the representation of every black man that comes to sit in that theater, and whatever's happening on stage, that's how they're gonna feel. At least people are looking at them like. And so I wanted to do two things, which is put them at ease, but also give people an opportunity to see Ike Turner as a human being, not who did monstrous things, as opposed to just a monster. And in doing so, I think we also get a better understanding of Tina Turner and why Tina Turner would stay with someone as long as she did. 17 years. I do believe Tina felt that this black man might fall into disarray, which he did, and her wanting to keep somebody afloat and having the opportunity to be that kind of person that she might not have had in her life. That's what I was hoping to bring to the role and have the opportunity to do.
Katori Hall, who wrote the book for the musical, I thought she did a brilliant job with really painting all of the different sides of him, all the different facets of him. I think casting you in the role, when I heard that you were doing the part before I saw you do it, I said, that's genius casting, because you are a nice guy. You're very likable. So sure. I think when I saw the show, what struck me was that I totally got why this relationship for Tina Turner was so complicated. Because there were so many good things. Yeah. That, the way the character's written, the way that you play it, he's irresistible. Yeah. And it made it so complex.
Well, that's the thing. Also, Adrian and I have known each other for 12 years. So, I think showing people that actually enjoy being around each other for whatever reason, having that chemistry helps create more of a, like you said, more complex understanding of a relationship. Yeah. Because we all have those relationships. Like,
do you see any of your own qualities in Ike Turner? And what did you put of your own life into your playing him?
I've been in therapy 2 years when I got the audition for Ike. And when I hadn't thought about Ike Turner, Right. I hadn't given him a second thought. When the audition came in, I was like, did a quick Google read of just, and I was like, oh, this is a hurt person. Oh, hurt people. Oh, okay, I know what this is. Right. I immediately went that way. It was like, okay, and I'm interested in telling this story. But if I just went off of what I saw and what's love got to do with it, or just what I heard, I'm not interested in playing this guy. But understanding that he has a more complicated history, I had something to bring to it immediately just from going to therapy and uncovering all of my stuff.
Right. We have conversations all the time about whether or not complicated characters can be shown on stage. When the Carousel revival came out, there was a whole online storm of, we can't show a leading man who hits his girlfriend or wife. We can't show that. Yeah. And my thought was, well, it doesn't mean it, just because we show it doesn't mean we're saying it's okay. We're not endorsing it. Mm-hmm. People do hit their spouses. That's not good. We don't want it. We don't want that to be what we support.
Right. Art is life. It is what it is, and art is also subjective based on who's viewing it. Who are you on this stage? Are you the Ike Turner? Are you the Tina? Are you the sister? Are you the mom? I think we go see art, we're also looking for ourselves. Mm. And I do think nuance is important. Context is important.
Something we don't do well in this community.
I agree. And I think that is often the problem, which is like, what is the context behind this thing that we're doing? And what are the subtle nuances to make it both relatable, palpable, and digestible, but still also stir the pot a little bit?
Can we still celebrate someone's art if we don't agree with their behavior as a person.
Well, the thing is, like, both things can exist. So it's like, can we have a show about Michael Jackson and can we celebrate him? Mm-hmm. Sure, right. Can people also protest that? Absolutely.
Of course.
Both of them, those dialogues are important. If you don't want to see the show, don't go.
Right.
Now, it makes you a little bit of, I'm not going to say it makes you a hypocrite, but also if you want to be able to have a nuanced conversation about why Michael Jackson should not be on, go see the show.
Totally.
And then, and then be able to make a decision for yourself. But sometimes it's like, this show shouldn't happen. And you haven't even seen the show.
Dave Chappelle just said in a speech after his special, he said, he goes, I will meet with the trans community. And one of my stipulations is that they have to watch the whole thing from beginning to end.
Again, if you still disagree, great. But if you've watched it,
yes,
you can then have a conversation, a very articulate conversation.
He's like, I'm not willing to have the conversation until you've listened to the entire thing.
Yeah.
I think that in the community right now, there is what I call recreational outrage. That the idea of being outraged has become joyous, I think, to a lot of people. It's every time there's a casting announcement, doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything. It could be Little Red Riding Hood, the musical. Yeah. There's already tweets and articles protesting the casting. It doesn't matter what it is. Are you as exhausted by this as I am?
People can have an opinion, and that opinion, someone who's in the middle of nowhere can have an opinion that becomes plastered all over the world.
Right.
If it has the right, the
secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
Yeah.
And there's a cool thing about that someone's voice can be heard that would otherwise not be heard. The other danger in that is that somebody who might have a very, very good tweet, but might not have sound information around said tweet or be able to back up that tweet with information is now being put on a platform to have more conversations, and they don't know what they're talking about. And now we've created a hero and a leader out of somebody who just had a good soundbite, 240 characters.
We haven't even seen, I think, the long-term effects of this, because the truth is, I know it feels like the internet's been around forever. The internet's really new.
It's a kid.
The internet's 20-something years old.
Exactly.
That's really, really new.
It's acting like it's 20-something.
Right, it's true. The internet is in college right now, getting drunk at parties.
Oh, it is showing its whole behind right now.
I find that I've been working with high school kids in the past year during COVID. These are kids that were born after the internet.
Yeah.
And I find that their awareness of the internet and their behavior on the internet is much better than ours or our generation's.
Yes.
Because they grew up knowing the dangers of the internet, where we just got the internet. I got my AOL CD that I put into the computer. Yeah. And now I was just, doing whatever. This fun thing. But it was like we were, a bull in a china shop with the internet.
Yes. There's plenty of examples for kids to see right now. What happens when you do something now? This is what'll happen to you later on. So don't say this in public or post this in public. And also just how it's a drug. It's a different kind of drug. It
functions like a drug.
Functions like a drug. We're called users.
Yeah.
Everyone, you use the app. Your app users. That's what drug dealers call their clients, users.
And studies have shown that when you get a like on Facebook, it releases dopamine. You're getting the same physical response that you get from food that you like and positive physical contact.
Yeah.
So we actually are chemically addicted to Instagram too.
Yes.
It's not just a mental addiction. We've got a physical. We're getting a dopamine hit every time we're on Instagram.
Well, it is applause. It plays into most of us as actors. There's two parts of it. There's the I want to be an artist and I want to do this thing. There's also a performative element where we do care about what people feel about our performances. And now the internet has allowed people to perform in ways and also gauge the kind of applause that they're getting from the thing that they said without having to necessarily they don't have to go to college for 4 years to study to do this thing. It's I don't have to do any of this work. I can get applause from, just being in my living room doing what I do.
And when I want it.
You hope, though. That's the thing. You hope. algorithms come into play, but you start to think, oh, what did I do wrong? How come nobody's liking this?
And Instagram's mad at me. It knows.
You go through all this stuff. You know, you set yourself up. You know, I know there was definitely a time when I was definitely only going to Instagram to see who liked the post. I wasn't going on to see what anybody else was doing.
Totally.
I'm checking Instagram to see what people are saying about what I just posted.
There has been just a complete, I would say, reckoning is the word, like both a reinvigoration and a questioning and a come to Jesus moment within our industry, also Hollywood, all of the art scene. What are we doing right, and what are we doing wrong?
What are we doing right? What we're doing right is we're all coming back to the table.
Yeah.
What we're doing right are people are actually saying how they feel. Even if those feelings aren't necessarily fully supported, they're justified because there is fact to feeling. Now, feelings aren't always facts, but there is fact to feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being able to, for people who have come back into the space and have heard people's complaints, you know, even if they didn't hear them, they allow them to be said.
Yeah.
Right? That is what we're doing right. Treating business as usual, we're doing wrong in a way. I think kind of rushing back to it all, we're doing it wrong. We haven't figured out yet how to maintain the full scope of human needs over production needs. But sometimes we still have to manage what the production needs are because we're in agreement that there is a production and that it needs things.
Right.
So
it's hard to do the changes in the production if the production's not there.
Right.
You can't fix an art scene if it doesn't exist.
If it doesn't exist. Like, I think a lot of institutions had the luxury of continuing to do things in the midst of the pandemic, and you could watch people figure things out, whereas ours was at a standstill. So we're now, for the first time, being able, and also our institution is profit based. So we can't sacrifice the profit.
It's if we don't have the profit, it isn't a scene.
It isn't a scene.
That is a great point, and it's something that a lot of people in this industry don't remember.
Yeah.
You have to bring in an audience no matter what. There's a lot of the changes, a lot of things we want to see done are all great ideas. But if we don't have a scene, if we implode on ourselves, it becomes irrelevant anyway.
Right.
We have to sort of be up and running.
Yeah. And I think right now this is the pass, right? So this is, for most of us, coming back, and when I say coming back, I also say coming forward. But for those of us who are literally returning to a thing that came to a standstill, that we were resuming, this is a pass. We all get a pass right now because we're literally jumping back into the thing that probably potentially traumatized us in the first place. But everyone has bills to pay. We have things to do. There's nothing wrong with going back to finish the thing that you started. After this is where we really figure out what's happening, where the real change is. What are you, person who came back into the space that traumatized you, are you going to keep doing that? Those of us who we have said have traumatized us, are you going to continue to operate in such a way? Are you going to keep presenting us with the same food that we say we do not like? It's both. I want you to give me a new dish, and also if you give me the same dish, I have to not take it.
I feel like we're not quite in Broadway 2.0 yet.
We're not there yet.
We're like doing the remnants of Broadway 1.0, and we
have to finish what we started, and it's just what it is. We have to finish what we started. Or you don't, and kudos to you if you're like, you know what, I can't do this. Kudos. But I'm saying this is your pass right now. This is your grace period of transitioning back into the space. After this, and it's a very fine window. It's a small window. It's not a big window. It's a very small window. After this, everyone has to really take stock in what they said they were going to do.
Yes.
And either be able to own up and stand up and do the thing that you said you were going to do, or own up to the fact that you don't want to do the thing that you said you were going to do.
Once you say you're going to do something, you don't do it. It's really hard to regain the trust of everybody again.
Exactly.
I heard a lot of promises were made by regional theaters, at Broadway theaters, honestly. While it was happening, I still felt like it was empty calories in a way.
Yes,
I felt like
sure.
it was I'm going to say something because I got to say something
'Cause
without
yes.
any real plan. I think when we get to Broadway 2.0, we're going to have to see what the actual plan is.
Right. Well, going back to the internet, getting the internet has so much power that being roasted by the internet is way more detrimental than than actual physical abuse. There are some people who would rather get hit by a truck than face Black Twitter. And because of that, people started making very quick, snappy decisions, choices, voicing things that before they had really taken stock of what that actually meant to do.
Yeah.
So, you have to, before you say we're going to do this, this, and this, you actually need to bring in people who can actually help you do this, that, and the third. We're going to say, I'm going to do this. It's very political. It's like politicians. Like, when I get into the White House, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. But actually being in the White House to know what is happening in the White House, and then putting people in place, to do the thing.
I say Broadway needs to lose 100 pounds, and we're trying to do it in 2 days, as opposed to going on a diet.
Yeah.
We're trying to do a fad diet. That is a quick fix, as opposed to we need a healthy lifestyle, and we're doing a fad diet.
So what really helped me in the pandemic was when I started really, really thinking about the time Martin Luther King put in, and Malcolm X put in, and Lorraine Hansberry put in, and James Baldwin put in, and Fannie Lou Hamer put in, and Nina Simone put in, all this time that they put in, and change happened very marginally in the time in which they put it in the decades in which they put in this time. So for me to assume that in an 18-month space, I can, there's something that I'm going to do that's going to be the change. Calm down, Daniel. Sure.
I was thinking someone like Martin Luther King. I would love to hear what would his take be right now. It's hard to know because everything's different. I certainly none of us can speak for him, but what the hell would he think if where would he be politically? What would he support? What would he not support? And the truth is, of course, it's speculation. We don't know. But
it's interesting when people. Martin Luther King is one of those things where, like, was the dream better served because we lost Martin? If Martin was still around, would we still be in a more complacent place? Or was his death make things more urgent, right? And then again, in the scope of time, in the way we perceive time, because all humans think that their time is the most important time that was ever that ever existed.
Right.
I don't know. Losing Malcolm and Martin and JFK in that space of time, did it slow down the movement? Did it speed up the movement? You're going to get battle fatigue no matter what, right? No one can fight forever. Not fight forever. You have to take a break between these little battles, these little wars. And this is just, and again, also suggesting that the fight started in the 60s is also
absurd.
Is absurd.
Right.
Malcolm and Martin were picking up a torch that Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and
it goes further back than that.
And what goes before that, So it's just like this is all part of the same. These are different legs of the same race. Now we have the baton, and this is our leg. And how fast can we go? What can we accomplish in this leg before our time is up and we have to pass the baton to somebody else? And it takes a while to grow a tree, right? You plant the seed, you water it. You hope somebody else comes and waters it after you, and then it grows, and then hopefully it grows, and hopefully it grows, and then hopefully there's some fruit, and then hopefully somebody gets to eat that fruit. But you're not going to eat this apple of this apple seed that you planted. You're just planting the seed because you're eating fruit from a tree that you didn't plant.
So Broadway is back, and sort of.
Yeah.
For now.
Sure.
What do we actually need to do, both as an industry and I guess as a civilization of human beings, to create this world that we talk about, or during the pandemic that we want to have? We want this new version of the world to exist. Yeah. Where do we go?
I think it starts with we were talking about the great Linda Twine.
Yes, we were.
And great music director, and amongst other things. And one story from The Color Purple is that, we were in music rehearsal, and one day she said, okay, and now we're all going to agree on the pitch. And I think we all have to agree on the pitch. Right now, there's a bunch of different, we're in different songs. Right?
Yes.
And first things first is that's what I say, we all have to kind of like finish singing this last little song, get to the high note of whatever these last songs are, cut it off, and then we're going to start a new song.
Yes.
First, we're going to agree on the pitch, right? What is our starting note? And from there, and I think we need to be in unison for a while. And then we can branch off into harmony, right? And even the idea about harmony is that you have to, all of this is going to take training.
Yeah.
And
you still have to hold your part.
And you have to hold your part, right? Yes, you have to vocal training, ear training, and you have to hold your part, right? Don't come over here, don't start gang singing and jump on the C, and you're supposed to be on the A, stay on the C, right? And don't worry about the quality of what I'm singing right now. Like, I'm still learning my thing. I'm not gonna worry about the quality of what you're singing. I'm gonna focus on singing this A because that's my part. And I think people are worried about I need to be able to sing in harmony by myself. And it's like, no, you are one voice. Be one voice. Sing your part. Do your part. But we have to agree on the pitch. And we also have to agree on the song that we're singing. And if you don't want to agree, and if you don't want to sing this song, don't sing this song.
I think sticking in this same analogy, I think what the Broadway we're in right now is we're still finishing up the old song too. We haven't even begun the new song yet.
We haven't begun the new song.
And I think some people think we're in the new song, but we're still in the old one.
We simply had to stop the song. The song didn't finish. We didn't end the song. We stopped singing the song.
Somebody else cut us off.
Somebody else cut us off.
Yeah.
And now we have to finish singing the song. Hopefully we're singing the song better than we were singing when we finished, right? We learned some things. We got some better technique. But now, now we're gonna sing this with better quality, and then we're gonna end this song.
Well said. Thanks. I love that analogy.
I think that's the best one I got.
Linda Twine. We got it.
Twine.
We want Linda. Linda, if you're listening to this, does she have?
Oh, I mean, Linda Twine is also the queen of diction. She's the perfect person for this whole analogy. It's like we need to have good vocal quality. We need to agree on the pitch.
Linda Twine needs the Nobel Peace Prize.
She does.
I mean, look at the conversations she's inspiring us to have.
I'm not kidding. I think she deserves it.
Along those lines, what do you see your role or our roles as artists are in this time? Can art make a difference, or is art just a reflection of the difference?
I think art makes a difference, and I think Nina. It's a very cliche thing to do. But, Nina Simone's artist's job is to reflect the times, and and that's almost all. Really, that's all you can really expect from an artist. And honestly, that's all really an artist can expect from their work is to reflect the times. For them to change the times, that's up to those who are viewing the art to want to be changed, to be in a position when they see the art to be changed by it. I think really, really, I don't say really, really good art. I think art, make the art. If somebody finds it, great. When they find it, great. There are artifacts that we're finding now from years ago that has been lost for centuries, but we're finding it. And now that we found this art, we can look at this culture in a very, very different way. That's what art does. That's why when militaries go in to kill institutions, they go for the culture first. They go for the art first.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never thought about that.
Break that down first.
What's crazy is that, dare I say this, our country right now feels to me like we're taking our own art down in a way that we haven't before. Mm-hmm.
Artists represent freedom. And people are terrified of what freedom looks like because we have this perceived idea of what freedom is, but it's always been within this box, right? Mm-hmm. America is the land of the free, except for all of these laws and all of these things that you can't do,
right? And
things you can do in Florida that you can't do in Arkansas, that you can't do in New York, that you can't do in California. Mm-hmm. So how free is America? And when you have artists who are boundaryless, wait. That's a freedom that, for those of us who are brave enough to do it, it terrifies people who are terrified to be that free. Mm. So it's like, well, I don't want that person to be free without me, and they're being free because of their art. Tear it down. Mm. You can't be freer than I am. I'm free. or am I not?
Right.
Oh, I'm not free. I'm not free. Well, I don't want you to be free because I'm not free. And that's why it's artists' jobs.
We got to keep pushing
keep
forward.
pushing, keep being free.
So you performed on the Tonys, and you did a piece called "What Does Your Silence Sound Like?"
Yeah.
How did that piece come to be, first of all, and what was it like creating and doing it?
Yeah, so it's, it started with Broadway Advocacy Coalition,
Yes.
being presented with a special Tony Award.
Right.
And because they are not a show like the other special Tony Awards, CBS decided to have a performance dedicated to them, to the work that they had done. If I understand correctly, the idea of something with spoken word was mentioned, and then thus my name was thrown into the hat. And
Sure.
then I got a phone call to be a part of this. And we had a meeting with the team, the committee, and they asked me, what were my thoughts, and in just the conversation about the silences, and there was the reckoning kind of came out of this silence, at the in the wake of Breonna and Ahmaud and George specifically,
Right.
and so. In the talks with the committee, Shelley Williams, who's part of the committee, she said, it's an interesting thing, wondering what does everyone's silence sound like? And as soon as she said that, I said, this is the kernel.
Yeah.
I'll start here. And then I kind of let the ancestors take over. And what I mean, I went and I put on some music, and I went to YouTube, and I'd been on a Miles Davis kick, and randomly, it hadn't come up before, but this particular day, this new album called In a Silent Way.
Yeah.
Miles Davis In a Silent Way was there. I was like, I'll do that. And I just played that over and over. The first one is called, it's two tracks. One is called Shh, and the other one is called In a Silent Way. And I just let it play, and I just kept repeating, like playing over and over and over, and I just wrote it. It just kind of flowed, and I got to this beat will resist arrest. That's a good play on words. Arrest. Oh, a pause, a break, a sign inside. Oh, arrest suggests silence. It did the thing for me.
It evolved.
For me.
I love Let the Ancestors Take Over.
That's what it is.
God,
it's not me.
so
It's not me. I would love to take credit for things that I do. It's not me.
But that's all. But that's every great artist I know has let the ancestors take over for
you
them.
have to.
We're all doing it. Everybody has.
Always.
I think, and everyone that we consider great let their ancestors take over too.
That's what it is.
What a great way of putting it.
It is, And what for me, because it's twofold, as much as it's like I'm like, what does your silence sound like? I had to have a talk with myself at the top of the pandemic, because I took a break because I needed it. I got off socials. I was on social enough to know that something was going on with this kid named Ahmaud Arbery.
Right.
And I was keeping up with that, but I hadn't said a word. And the right three people were like, hey, haven't heard anything from you. You would normally say something around now.
Where is it?
Where is it?
Yeah.
And it was, part of me was like, wow, I was got to be the one to say something. And, and it was that too. I was a little bit frustrated by like, wow.
Right.
You hear that you're clearly telling me that there's a problem, and you're not saying anything.
Right.
You're waiting on me to say
That was
something.
happening all over the place.
Everywhere. It was happening everywhere. But my own silence got to me. Because I also have a poem called No More Silences, which is, just this idea that anytime we lose someone, we take a moment of silence, which I think is a beautiful thing. But also, the idea of the poem is that all we have are our moments, and they're fleeting, and you don't know when your final moment is. And I don't want to waste my moments being silent. I would actually rather use my moments, blowing the trumpet, blowing the whistle, keeping, and again, there's a balance to it. But at that moment, I had been silent long enough. And I had to realize, is my silence a pause? Is it a rest? Because the longer I don't do anything, it's not a rest. It's silence.
Silence.
And I found myself being silent. And so in order for it to be a rest, I had to do some work. I had to get back to work. Doing the thing that I do, And I don't want to say doing the thing that people expect of me, but I do know that when you do the thing that people expect of you, it gives them the courage and the permission to do it also. The thing that they're probably terrified to do, or the thing that they feel that they would be doing alone. So I got back to work. So as much as people thought I might have been talking to them, I was also talking to myself and saying, what does your silence sound like? Is this a rest? Are you being silent, or are you simply taking a rest? Well, a rest suggests work. Get back to work.
What do you see yourself doing in the next years, both as an artist? Do you see yourself doing anything not as an artist? I feel like you could be a sociology professor and I would take your class. I mean, I'm not even being funny. I think I could see you doing so many things.
You're actually right. I took one of my favorite classes was sociology through film in college. Sociology through film and then psychology through film. And to answer the question, no, I don't think I cannot do anything artistic. It's just
you're bleeding art.
I'm bleeding art, and it truly saves me. It keeps me from doing something foolish. With I'm an artist, and I am a product of a lot of different things that if I do not channel things properly, I can be just as destructive as the next person, which is why I think arts are important, because I think people who shoot up schools are just people who aren't tapped into the arts.
We're all like Dexter. He has the urge to kill people, but he decides to kill the bad people.
Right.
That's sort of what we are as artists. Like we've got these
these
crazy impulses that are out of control. You're like, I'm going to play the French horn. That's how I'm going to deal with this.
But, and it's easy to go, oh, you're just playing the French horn. It's like, no, I'm choosing not to go down Main Street with a shotgun.
Right.
That's what we're missing,
Yes.
And I just think we need more. If people want to be remembered, that's what graffiti is. That's just somebody wanting to be remembered. Somebody. Right. I was here.
Yeah.
I was here. That's such a real thing. You see it on the bathroom stall. So and so was here. That's just somebody who just wanted to be remembered. And I know if I leave this tag, somebody's going to see it.
Daniel J. Watts's The Jam is your piece that you've put together and you've been performing for a long time. I read online, and now I don't know who the hell wrote this, but let's hope it's
Might have been me.
Let's hope it's right. It's to talk about our social similarities as opposed to our differences is one of the goals that wants. Now, is that right?
Yeah, that's kind of like my mission statement, but it's always been, nothing is separate from anything else. So in ways, Ike Turner is also the jam for me. Like it's all.
Right. We're in a time when I think there's a lot of differences going on. We're very divided.
Yeah.
The art scene is divided. The country is divided. The world's divided. There's lots of division. What do you think the jam speaks to in that way, and what do you hope the jam could do for that?
Wow. Oh, that's a good question. I do have to get specific about that.
Please, yeah.
The jam, it started as simply as a way for me to share. The jam is a share. It's not a show. It's the way it's always been. We can divide ourselves with our borders very easily. We can go do this all day. I'm black, you're white. We can do this all day. Or we could go the other direction. All that does is just do this. Or we can go the other direction and do this. I'm human, me too. Great.
Let's start there.
Let's start there,
yeah.
Right? So you're human, so that means you also must have been born. Great. So if you're born, that means you must have had a childhood.
Right.
Great. Then now we're getting somewhere. What was it like growing up for, okay, it wasn't like that, but it was like this for me. Me too. That's what I hope the jam does. The thing that I feel a lot of people resonate with is this fire story that I have, which is when I accidentally almost set the house on fire as a kid, playing with fire. And I use it as a metaphor with what playing with fire looks like as an adult, but just that idea. I've had several people like, man, I almost burned down the kitchen when my mom wasn't home because I was trying to cook a steak. I almost burned down the living room, and then my mom made me give me a lecture, made me go to the fire department and have a lecture from the local fire department. But it's something about just telling that story. It has nothing to do with race, gender, sexual orientation.
It's a human moment.
A kid learning what it means to play with fire and it talks about potential danger, all of these things. That's what I hope the Jam does, is that it brings us together through our common experiences. Bob Chapel came to Elon my freshman year and auditioned for him for the first time. And I danced and I sang. And he was like, oh, it's great that you're a dancer because you don't sing well. And I was like, but it lit a fire. Like it was something, it was the way he said it. I was like, well, I can't. Okay, well, let me get better at this. And then like the next summer, he hired me to do Smokey Joe's because I had worked on the stuff. But it was just like, it was...
But I'm sure you got better because of that.
I did. No, I didn't. I actually wasn't offended. I was so busy being like, how come nobody else has talked to me like this? Like,
this was like therapy. You gotta like, sometimes at the end of therapy, you gotta laugh too. It's
you
like,
must, yes.
Maybe like, all right, like just say something funny.
I'm thinking about my story. A story for us was when I was auditioning for Mermaid. You remember this?
No.
You see?
Well, it depends what it is.
No,
what,
I was so
yeah,
I was. I left.
We were already in the city.
We were in the city. We moved to the city, and I had a callback for The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
And they sent me the sheet music. They wanted me to sing Sebastian and something else. And I didn't know anybody in the city who could play piano except you. And I was like, Nate Patten.
That's how I've gotten a lot of gigs.
Nate Patten. I was like, I need Nate Patten. Where Nate Patten, where are you in this? Are you here?
Let me look in the phone book and find his number.
Because we're that.
I mean, it really was that, like, probably.
Almost. But no, it was like, I know I definitely had to go find some paper and find that contact sheet.
Definitely.
And go,
I wasn't in it. And then we worked on it.
And we worked on it.
Yeah.
We worked on it twice. And
you booked it.
I booked it.
Was that your first Broadway gig?
That was my second. It's my
Color
first original.
Purple
Color Purple was my first.
Yeah,
but that will always be a part of.
Oh, I remember. And I remember seeing Little Mermaid too.
Yeah.
And seeing you after on the stage at the Lunt.
Yes.
There you are.
There's the line.
So,
again.
Yeah, it's a good. Oh my God, I do remember that. Oh yeah, that's right. And you were the Sebastian cover.
No.
But you had to sing it.
I had to sing it. I mean, they were like, "Oh, he could be." Nope.
If you like this show, find us on social media at Patten Disregard and tag us. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself.